So when we're talking about our basic vector operations, the most simple ones, the ones we're going to focus on here, are scalar multiplication, addition, and subtraction, where essentially everything that happens to vectors is kind of the same as what we saw with matrix multiplication, or scalar multiplication of matrices, that is, and matrix addition or subtraction, where you can think of a vector, as we'll see it defined later, as acting something like a 1 by n or m by 1 matrix, that is one row or one column matrix, where if we want to talk about scalar multiplication, it's just rescaling the vector. We multiply the vector by some constant k, and you can think of that as multiplying the magnitude of the vector by k, where if k is negative, we're also changing the direction by flipping it over. If we want to talk about vector addition, what will happen there is something we can think of as drawing a new vector from the initial, the beginning of v, to the terminal point of u. So you sort of make a triangle there, where what we get is a thing called the resultant vector. And it doesn't have to go directly across like that. And we can make some adjustments in terms of how we present it, but that's the easiest way to picture what happens when you get a resultant vector from adding vectors u and v. On the other hand, if we subtract vectors, we can think of that as acting something like combining these two first operations, where what we do is we take our vectors u and v, and then we use the scalar multiple negative u to flip it over, and then we add those two up to get something in there like a resultant vector, where we also want to adjust the position of u to make it fit in nicer, but that's about what it would look like in terms of vector subtraction. It's really just a combination of addition and multiplication, as you'd expect, as you may remember, where these are still very abstract concepts of operations. Generally, when we're talking about operations, we like to be able to anchor them down to numbers. And that's what we're going to start seeing next, where we're talking about our vectors in terms of actual coordinates, in terms of rectangular coordinates, to be exact.